it's dropping like half the frames. This is bad. Oh my god. Oh my god. Come on, stop dropping every frame. Well, I guess I gotta wait for this to stop dropping every other frame. Tell me when it's back up, everybody. Nope. Drop frames. It's okay now. 2. Okay, we're live again. I'm sorry everyone, the internet's being really, really shitty here. I'm not sure what's going on. Charter is a really bad service provider. I'm sorry, they changed their name. They're like Comcast. They changed their name for probably because it's tied to negative response. Anyways, I was gonna say is Bippy's gameplay is a little bit like Mischief Makers, that boss fights and enemies have specific timing that when they're about to attack you, if you attack them at the exact same time, if you can deflect their move by punching, you can stun them and get like extra damage off on them. There's weak points and openings on a lot of enemies based on attacks that they do. It's a big focus of the game, which is why Bippy's punch comes out on second frame. You need to be able to respond quickly to that kind of thing, so there's no delay. If Bippy makes contact to something, cuts the animation right there, it plays it, like it'll play it out, but if you hit punch again, Bippy can immediately cancel out the punch animation he was already in and do it again. So that's a thing that'll happen at points. Sometimes things will come at you that you need to punch 3 or 4 times to actually deflect it or break through it. It's like parrying in Street Fighter 3, kind of. You'll have windows like that sometimes. So that's part of the gameplay, is that sort of thing. But alternatively, you can just attack things randomly. You don't need to find openings if you don't want to. It just won't stun enemies. You can hit them and just kind of pause their attack animation for a couple frames. You don't get damaged by enemy contact depending on enemy. It's if they attack you. And the game actually gives like a little visual indication when they're going to start an attack too. On top of them having animations for their attacks. So they'll blink, I forget when it is, it's 25 or 30 frames before they actually attack. They have a quick blink that goes up for like 1 or 2 frames that hangs on it, just to indicate like, hey, an attack's coming. And sometimes it'll happen just while they're moving around or something, and then the attack comes out immediately. So faster attacks, you get warned before they're even starting the animation for it. You always will have good indication that something's going to be attacking you, so if you can respond quickly, you can pretty much block anything in the game just by punching it. So that's there for people who want to be playing it in the most efficient way, but like I said, you can also just attack stuff and just kind of stall out attack animations by hitting them repeatedly. It won't stun them, they still get to attack you, but that's there if you're impatient. I'm just being really slow because I'm also looking at the chat and trying to pay attention to these things. I need to kind of... This does not look so good. I'm sure this is going to look really bad. However, I clean this one up right now because it's late. Probably have to be corrected during the second pass, but Bippy actually, because people just draw him with ball hands, he does actually have backs to his gloves. We just haven't added that into a lot of the sprites yet. They're very small though, like the gloves are supposed to look very, very big. The stream gonna be archived. It would have been if the internet didn't cut out and now it's in pieces. I might just leave it up anyways. Let's see. But if anyone ever has like feedback for stuff we're doing or questions or anything, just tweet at me. I've mentioned that a lot of times, and people still seem to just take whatever they hear on other sites or just come up with whatever. If anyone's confused about anything, I'm always pretty open to respond to. I also apologize if it ever sounds nasty when I respond, because it's probably because I don't use capitalization at all when I type. That's a bad habit I picked up on. I used to actually kind of emote with my text more. In fact, I think I gave up on that when I talked to the Best Gamers group, because I remember because since I met them while I was in high school, I remember that was the thing, was that they would even make fun of you for that. Like, oh, fag, using capitalization and punctuation. And it's like, oh, haha, yeah. Yeah. I was trying to say it earlier, I've known a lot of people who've come from groups like that, where they all met because they were like 15 and liked making fun of people online. What I need to kind of throw out there is you probably should be very cautious about that and not put too much out there if you're going to be with circles like that, because when you get older, you're going to grow out of that really fast. You're going to realize these people are not exactly friends. They're not going to act like regular people. And they're going to be very quick to kind of throw things back at you, so it's just miserable being around all the time. And I would say to kind of steer clear of that sort of thing. Don't treat groups like that as friends, because people like that typically don't act like friends. They target each other once they're done targeting others. So I know Corey had a hard time with that. I've known so many people who've had to deal with groups like that. I mean, you are a fag, you like a digit. Oh, it's true. It's true. It is true. I'm surprised I actually have not been given that hard of a time over that. You think if people were gonna get, like, if they wanted to insult me for something, that's the easy thing to do. Same thing with Julian. Julian made a joke about the whole diaper furry thing, and people believed it. I don't think they believed it, I guess. They just went along with it, and they're using that as like a thing on him. But it's like that was a joke to begin with. He's outright admitted, like, he has an FA and everything. He draws crazy porn and all that. No one seems to care. I gotta give it to him. I have a lot of respect for the fact that he just does what he does and doesn't care. He enjoys what he enjoys, he does what he does, and that's all there is to it. I'm very envious of that. I wish I didn't have that kind of response to things, that I always get anxious. That's probably why I come off like a weirdo a lot of the time. Like, people think I'm getting super defensive. It's usually not me getting defensive, it's that I want to respond to feedback and everything, but I also... I do get anxious during that. It's like I'm trying to push myself into that position sometimes, even if I'm not in the best mood. That was happening when all the digging was going on for information. I mean, they didn't even find anything to begin with anyways, but I don't know. Just the idea that someone was obsessing that hard. It was funny seeing them say too that only spurgs hide their information online. It's like, what? You're believing anything anyone says and trying your hardest to find someone's name, address, and a photo of them. Like, I don't think you're in any position to say they're being spurred. But like, Julian's always had that stuff out there anyways. That guy was posting his information, I remember. Julian didn't give a shit. People were posting it in his V thread. He doesn't care. So I have a lot of respect for him on that. Although I'm sure if people... Because he wasn't expecting how obsessive people were going to get. I'm sure if people start harassing us at our address, he'd be bothered. And it's why I was getting so on edge about that kind of thing. Just because I don't want Julian getting wrapped up in all of this. I could deal with it if it was on my end. I've had that happen to me in the past. I just don't want Julian getting tangled in all of that too. I'd feel bad about that. His furry porn is Tumblr voice. Yeah. That's what Julian likes. He's admitted that. I'm pretty sure he said that in almost every single video at this point. So it's not anything new. Why do people put so much effort into stupid shit? I imagine because they're young still, or they just don't have a focus yet for life. Because that was kind of why I was doing it when I was a teenager. I was a teenager. I wasn't really doing anything with myself yet. I was young. I was not in a good position either in my life, so it was easy to kind of take yourself off of it. I know that's a... I'm not going to play this song. I feel too embarrassed with that one. Is pop music. But I know that's like the common thing. Everyone's like, the bully is afraid of you. No, they're not. Absolutely not. But they are online. Usually it is people who are pretty insecure. It's kind of a way of throwing it back. And that was that's why it was funny reading the thread that got posted, because it's like, the guy who fucking posted he's guilty of a lot of that shit, and some of the stuff that he was trying to say was on my end was all on his end. I think I mentioned it before, but like, I remember when one of them made a bomb threat to the New Yorker. Yeah, that's smart. That'll show them how much of a master troll you are. Just that kind of thing, the idea of being like, I'm Mr. Internet Tough Guy. It's a phase that I think a lot of people go through when they're younger. And then they grow up and it's like, okay, I want to actually do things with myself. This, as much as I thought like this was having big weight and relevance, it wasn't. It didn't matter. I'm sure with that channel in specific, for example, the Best Gamers, it had like 2,000 subscribers at the time. No one was watching it. It really didn't matter. But everyone there treated it as if it was more than it was, and that anything they did was dramatically influencing lives or something. But that's why a lot of people do that online. And a lot of it's why you'll see people just be really stupid on V most of the time. It's because it's people getting It's also just people kind of being unstable anyways. So there's a whole bunch to it. Someone getting fucking furious if they see someone disagrees with them on something. I mean, boy am I used to that. Crash 3 really sucks compared to 2. I'm not gonna say that. People thought I hated it too. I don't hate Crash 3. I still like Crash 3 a lot, but I think 2 is much, much better. I think 2 is the perfect Crash game. It looks great, has great music. Most of the levels are fantastic. It's not broken up much by gimmicky stages outside the jetpack, which is used twice? I guess it's used during the final boss, so I'm not going to count that. Because you can also throw Wumpa Fruit during a boss fight. But 3, I always kind of felt was a little bit underneath 2 because some of the areas in it just don't stand out as much as the detailed environments that 2 had. They don't. The medieval setting, for example, is really boring to me. I don't think the medieval music's very fun either. I barely even remember it. I don't like how often they use the rendition of the title screen music. It reminds me of like how Smash Bros. Brawl recycled its theme everywhere. I'm not a big fan of that kind of thing. The levels are pretty tame in terms of difficulty, unless you're going for time trials. On top of the vehicle stages, that's the biggest thing for me. Half of Crash Bandicoot 3 are vehicle stages. The motorcycle is not very fun. It's tolerable. I really don't like how it feels to control, though. The underwater stages are just kind of boring. The airplane stages, I honestly can't stand. I really don't have any fun doing those. They don't control poorly, they're not anything. You just kind of do them and get them over with. But if the variety there between all these stages were things that were actually like kind of fun to do, I wouldn't mind it as much. But I really don't like most of those vehicle stages at all, so I don't enjoy it that much. I also don't think the time travel gimmick is really taken advantage of. It feels like you're going on a world tour, which ironically the Japanese title screen shows the globe, as if that is what the game's about. The only time you get a hint of time travel is there's a dinosaur. There's a dinosaur stage. I guess the medieval setting. I shouldn't say I guess. I mean, yes, the medieval setting. Although I can also take that as it being a modern setting, and it's just like Renaissance themed or something. Like they're at a fair. The future setting reminds me of just like the end levels of 1 or 2. I mean, you fight Dingodile just in a snow area. I guess it's supposed to be the Ice Age, but it just looks like a typical snow area. The Arabian stages, like, okay, this doesn't really stand out as a time travel thing. In fact, that's like flying carpets and everything. It's more of a fictional setting than anything, as if you got transported into a fairy tale. It seems really disjointed with what it was trying to do in terms of that. Tiny is the only boss who's set up in a way as if he time traveled, because he's in a Roman Colosseum and he's dressed up. He's the only one. But I still like 3 a lot. 3's still a pretty fun game. It controls really well. Some of the stuff in terms of power-ups are enjoyable. I actually love the time trial stuff. I know a lot of people don't like the time trials. I love the time trials. I actually think that's a fun idea. I just kind of wish they were in 2, because 2 has more interesting levels. But I still like 3 a lot, but I can understand why Chris didn't really like it. Part of the reason that session went so poorly though is because my ear was hurting at the time still. It was bleeding like every other day. I couldn't even hear out of it when we were playing it, and I was grumpy the whole time, so it's like, okay, we're not gonna use this. Insane Trilogy is adding time trial. I heard though that the controls in it are kind of off, so people who were trying to employ old strategies couldn't do it anymore. Wait, $100? That happened? I just didn't see it? Oh my god. Not Shiggy donated $20. Not Shiggy, I'm refunding you. I told you. Guys, I said don't donate or I'm gonna have to refund you. Alright. Me McButt donated 30 and said, Your streams make my heart as jobs fly by. Thanks for work noise. Have a good one. I mean, I'm gonna have to refund you. I don't really want donations during the stream just because we got so many last time. I'm sorry. I really do appreciate it, but I'm gonna have to give this back once the stream ends. I don't feel good about that. Especially because, I mean, you donated so many times in the past. You shouldn't have to be doing that. I kind of wish there was a different setting when we were doing videos. Because anytime I've tried to sort of make a disclaimer in the videos we've done, just about these sort of things, I guess I just can't ever word it right or make it too clear what I'm trying to say. Because people still end up getting pretty frustrated at things. I feel like I do a better job during streams just because it's me streaming, so I don't have to be in a setting with Chris making goofy noises. It's easier to kind of think instead of being on the spot and having to make jokes. So if I need to bring clarity to something, it's easier. Are there any games that you refuse to play and only plays? Minecraft. I don't want to play Minecraft. I don't want to play Five Nights at... You know what? We were going to do a joke last year. Because Five Nights at Freddy's was made in software that you could literally pump a game out like that in probably a week, I was gonna make a joke version of Sister Location that we're gonna play, pretending we got it early. But when we thought of that idea, turns out the game was coming out in like 14 hours anyway, so it wasn't gonna happen. It would have been a recording day anyways for that kind of thing. But if they announce a new Five Nights at Freddy's this year, we're probably gonna go in on doing that joke. We're gonna try to play Digimon World sometime soon. A lot of people sent it in, so hopefully we're gonna get to that. Julian and I tried to practice it a little bit. It is much different than I remembered it being. I remembered it not being like that hot of a game, but I still remembered really liking things about it. Although I'm very disappointed that I can't get any of my favorites in it. You're very limited in your selection of what you can end up with. And it seems like any Digimon that could read as a villain character, you're just not able to get them, which is kind of sad. I mean, that was the cool thing about the virtual pets. Everyone wanted to use Teddymon at the time. Everyone wanted him. Shmorky used this song for some of his animations. Alright. Does that mean I can't listen to it? You're gonna fight Shogun Gekko? I'm gonna leave the room if we get to that point. I can't stand to see him get hurt. See, that kind of reaction right there that someone said, please skip the song. It's a song. It doesn't mean anything. I can understand in some situations like that, like, oh, this has been ruined now, but Shmorky using a song in an animation, I'm not gonna stop enjoying the song because of that. Why you love him so much? That's gay. How about that? Man, that reminds me of the Best Gamers community, because that happened way back. I remember when I was did it even come up when I was doing stuff? Was it before that? I remember though that there was a song that got used for something, and it was from I don't know if you can still go find it even. There's an Xbox Live arcade release of Toe Jam and Earl that had some really amazing songs written just for the menu music. It sounded perfect, like they came right out of the game. And it was just for the menus. It was crazy that they wrote music like that just for the menus, but they were both really, really good songs. And on one of them, there was some guy who left all these comments saying like, hey, here's the person who composed the song. They're an anime loser idiot. They like anime and draw anime. And they're a nerd girl. They're fucking stupid. And it's like, okay, what does that have to do with anything? I don't fucking care. I think the song is really good. All I care about is, hey, this person writes really good music. I don't fucking care about that. Especially if it's something like that, too. That doesn't matter. Who cares? I think that was part of why seeing one of the guys from all of that making a 4chan thread, and not even making stuff up, not coming up with anything juicy. It's like, none of this matters. This was relevant to you when I was like probably 18 at the time, 17. Who honest to God would care about the... Well, you know what, people do, I guess. I've said it in other streams, though, like, if someone's gonna give you a hard time for something you did when you were 10 on the internet, it's equivalent to an adult picking on a child that doesn't exist anymore. Like, oh, when you were 8, I saw your hometown AOL page, and it was really embarrassing. Okay, I was 8. Did you factor that part in? Children do stupid things. If you want to go time travel and make fun of 8-year-old me, by all means, go right ahead. You're gonna be talking to someone who isn't around anymore. Can't believe you think traps are gay. They got a dick, don't they? I mean, specifically, that's why you're looking it up, is the idea that they have a dick, even though they're very feminine. If you're a male looking up traps, I think that spells it out. Not to mention a lot of people who are into that sort of thing. Part of the reason they're into it is because they like them being like embarrassed by that sort of thing too. Like they're cross-dressing and embarrassed by it. Because it's, I know Julian's all about that kind of thing. Taking away masculinity. It's it is what it is. You'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. Once you fall for your first fat mustache frog, you'll realize everything about yourself. The sucking your own dick gay. I remember Zach was asking me about that because I had like a big argument about it. It's like, oh, well, you have a dick in your mouth, but you're also being sucked off. And I would pull it back to this. Masturbation is you grabbing a dick and rubbing one out on your dick. So, I mean, if you're stimulating someone else's cock, that would be considered pretty gay, but if it's your own cock, that's alright. So, sucking yourself off, I don't think you're getting off on the fact that you have a big, meaty cock in your mouth. It's that you're able to do that to yourself to begin with anyways. Also, by the way, it's fucking painful. It's not a pleasurable thing anyways if you're able to do it. You're probably hurting yourself to do it. Not that I'm speaking from personal experience, but let's just say if I was, it's something that you're going to be straining yourself on anyways. Walk up a wall and then fall on yourself. What? That's true. Well, I mean, you assume big meaty cock because it's like, oh, because you're able to self-fillet, like you're able to blow yourself. You have to have something that could actually work its way in there. It's not just that you're able to, like, if you're double jointed and you're able to just kind of bend yourself back and do it and everything, yeah, but it needs to be at least big enough to get in there too. That's not enough. If you're able to bend all the way forward, you still need something that you can grasp onto, so that's why that's the assumption. Listen, I didn't bring it up. Someone else brought it up. I'm sorry you came at the worst time. You came at the absolute worst time. I'm sorry. Let's talk about yeah, this stream is not going in a good direction, is it? Why the frog? It's so weird. Well, I'd have to think about it. Maybe I shouldn't think about it. Maybe I should just shift the subject. It's you know, he's happy. He's if I was really gonna like break it down, I would say I do like goofier characters like that anyways to begin with. He's got a good shape, and I like musically themed things anyways, so it's a whole bunch of wins. Why not? Wanna see anyone else loving him? Think about that one. Why don't you? Yeah, tell us about your experience with the best game. I just talked about that earlier. It was everyone's still friends. Everyone's still friends. It wasn't ever like a major thing really. It was always just kind of a thing for fun. And my experience with it lately has been pretty rotten, just because the one person still around from all that who I say who's still around because there were two people who burned bridges with everyone from that group. One of them's still around, and that's who's been sparking a lot of the conflict lately, just because I guess nothing else is really going on for him. Which hopefully, I hope he figures stuff out. I remember he wanted to do like comics and stuff. I hope he picks up on something to do. But everyone else still gets along just fine though. And I hope we can all do a stream again. I'd really like to do a stream with everybody again. It's been so long. I really like doing Bubba Fest. He has a moist belly button. Oh my god. Has anyone done no. Okay. I have to time to stop reading the chat. No, I was talking about it earlier. It's part of why I feel a lot better after what was kind of keeping me down for a few days. I ended up finally seeing a thread that Julian had mentioned to me, but I never ended up reading it. But I finally read it earlier, and it just made me realize how so much of this really doesn't matter. So I feel a lot better in general. Because despite so much in that thread just being made up nonsense, they still couldn't come up with anything that really mattered. It was anything that did sort of happen, because they always were spinning stories in there anyways, like hamming it up. Those chat logs always get posted around, and those are modified anyways. That came from the... Jesus. What a weird thing. Just because there's a channel with only like 2,000 followers. But just that was the mindset that everyone from that group had when like I was fresh out of high school and I first met all of them. I remember that was that's where it was at. It was like, oh hey, you're a faggot for liking this, you're a faggot if you do this. And it was just being harsh about everything, being overly critical about everything, saying how every single thing you could possibly like is embarrassing. You liked the popular show at the time, you were a faggot if you just that sort of thing. It's why reading a lot of that was just kind of funny, because it's like you're bringing up like the fact that someone was using Second Life to to goof around and record videos is like a bad thing. Like, why does that matter? Who cares? Or like using DeviantArt, who cares? None of that stuff matters. And you were just hearing it a little bit ago. I think I've done plenty with how open I've been to kind of make a fool of myself as it is. None of that is even anything to care about. And at the end of the thread, seeing that it was 7 unique posters after like 300 and something posts, it was like, okay, well, he's been talking to himself this whole time too. And then I was seeing a lot of posts too that was like, I know they're in here, I know they're reading this thread. It's just like paranoia like that and everything too. It was crazy just finally reading that, and I feel all better. I feel all better about all of that. I'm glad it had the complete opposite effect as to what they were probably hoping for, and all it does is kind of disappoint me that he was everyone from that group had stuff they wanted to do. Everyone had projects they wanted to do, things they'd like to do in the future, and it's disappointing to see that that's not a thing that everyone's pursuing. Some people just kind of gave up, and this is what they're falling back on. I'm glad Rockhawk is still finding time to do videos. He's I said this earlier in the stream too, but it's criminal that he is not getting that many views. People need to go watch his channel. He's been doing some pretty entertaining videos. I hope we can do Bubba Fest again at some point. I'd really like to do it again. I had a lot of fun doing it. It was a fun idea. And people did amazing stuff for the last one. The last one was incredible. It was a really, really fun experience. Obviously I was trying to act a certain way when we were streaming it, because it was more... It's hard doing that too, like streaming with kind of a character gimmick. But I legitimately had a lot of fun doing it. I loved almost everything that got submitted. I had a great time doing it. People went all out for it. If we can't all find time to do something like that again for the Best Gamers, which seems like it's not gonna ever happen. Best Gamers never was like pure focus for me anyways, but it was something that I was streaming with them and everything, so like it or not, it is something I was attached to. I didn't want to stream with them either, I remember. I was very hesitant. I was fine for helping them out with a lot of that, but I didn't really want to stream when they were doing the Twitch streams. I helped them set up a layout and everything, get that figured out. But I didn't really want to be in them. But I do kind of miss it, just for things like that. It was fun having Zach and everybody come in too. It was a good time. But if we don't end up figuring out time to do something like another Bubba Fest, we'd like to do something like that for Oni Plays potentially. And we'll see. Maybe everyone can find some time again. Like I said, everyone's still friends. Everyone still talks. Carnivore is kind of on and off, but Rockhawk I talk to like every other day. Chrissy I talk to all the time. Everyone's still friends. Outside of one person. Which should probably read as a little bit suspicious to people too, with any of that going on. That and seeing tweets from them directly trying to instigate arguments. Like I said, I think I've done plenty to embarrass myself on my own. We're just having a talk about how I want to go on a hot date with a musical frog. So Lego Island prank call. Oh my god. I was so tired when we did that, I forgot it even happened. So someone uploaded that too. It was... I remember I was pretending I was crying because I was trying really hard not to laugh because I couldn't believe they were humoring that. I felt really bad for them around the end too. They were trying their hardest. They were trying their hardest to help. I wish I could pull that off in recording sessions. I wish I could be giggly and stupid when I'm tired as opposed to just being out of it. Because ukulele, I was just out of it. I could barely think. That Lego Island thing was, what did I say? They were asking me to spell it out, and I said Lego Island, L-E-G-O, and island, like is land. That was just me not even thinking. That wasn't meant to be a joke. My brain was turned off because I was so tired. And situations like that, I wish I could do that kind of thing just normally. I do feel bad for all those people though. Maybe we could play Lego Island on Oni Plays. That could be fun. What the frog wants a dick. That's good for me then. More power to him. It's about time. Do you guys ever regretted Loudhouse VG? That was when I was really like getting involved. I was hopping in around then, and I don't know. I don't know. It's weird with that one because people hold all of these channels too like they were big professional projects when they never were. These seriously were just things that we would sit down and do for fun if we had time. And the problem with that one was just like, okay, well, this one's not going to work out because this requires too much time and too much effort. No one has it. It was setting up for something that, with the people involved, it just wasn't going to work. Especially because at that point, everyone was getting, like, Rockhawk was already so busy with his job as it was. It just wasn't a thing that was feasible. It wasn't going to work. But, it was whatever. But that was when a lot of that stuff was starting to happen. It was, that one log that always gets posted around, which still confuses me to this day, why, it's modified? It's a modified log to begin with, but it's also, despite being modified, it's not anything that bad anyways. It's still just things like, oh, because they're throwing in stuff like, oh, this person watches anime. So what? Why does it matter? It's people who are hoping to like get extra drama, but there's nothing there to really get drama off of. Oh boy, here's Wild Woody. How do I get good at God Hand? What I would say is do the opening area to the game. Do not rely on the God Hand at all at any point while doing the opening area. Anyone with time and devotion read the entire tome really needs to rethink their priorities. Yeah, they sure do. It's probably because people think there's like juicy gossip in there. And a lot of that isn't even real anyways, so. But, what I was saying about God Hand is do the opening area to the game on normal, and first things first, when you're customizing your move list, the first thing you want to do when the game starts and you're dropped in the first area, pause the game, go into techniques, make the third move in your combo a guard break, because it takes 3 hits when an enemy's blocking for you to get stunned. So if your third attack is a guard break, that means every time, even if they just start blocking, you're going to break their guard. You're going to be safe. And your combo is not something you really are going to rely on in God Hand. If you want to be doing damage, you're going to be switching to those attacks manually to pump out damage. You're going to be using your combo just to set up for that kind of thing. So you work over enemies by doing your first 3 moves, and the second you do your third attack, which is your guard break, you want to cancel the animation by dodging upwards in place. Because if you whiff a guard break, the enemy's going to dodge. So by doing that on loop, you can eventually catch them out, get a guard break on them. And once you get the guard break, what you're going to want to do is try to sidestep and kind of line them up with the nearest wall to you. And by knocking them into the wall, you can start chaining combos off of the wall and just keeping them pinned against it. If you're not near a wall, that's fine too. You can trip them in place and then try to launch them off the ground into the air and do some juggles off of it. There's lots of options after that point, but the main thing within fighting in God Hand, you want to get a guard break on them, which is very, very easy to do if you set up your combo like that. It's what people do for speed runs of God Hand. They make their third attack a guard break because it's just safe. It's the most reliable way of doing it as opposed to doing it manually. And what you want to do if you're going to be practicing God Hand, you want to be going through that first area on loop a few times. Specifically, trying not to take a hit in the first area of the game. Just play it over and over and over again, and you're going to start picking up on the attacks that enemies have, how they interact with certain things. You're going to efficiently get through that first area without even taking a hit, you're probably going to start learning that you should taunt enemies, because taunting enemies allows you to break them up from each other. When they're in a group, if you step forward and just get in enough range that you can taunt one enemy individually, that means you can pull them out of a group and fight them on their own, then call out the next one and just keep fighting them one by one for really safe fights, because group fights in God Hand you don't want to do. Group fights are almost impossible to manage, which that's kind of the point. So if there's a big mob in God Hand, you're going to want to try to spread them out. And if you can't do that, if it's a tight area, you're going to want to just do something that hits everybody. Try to get like a running move in or kick everybody at the same time, and then just run. Just hightail it. Don't ever use backflips, because the recovery time on backflips is insane. They're terrible to ever rely on. Beginners think that backflips are going to be useful, but they're not. They're almost never useful. You can use them here and there if it's safe to kind of do it. Like if you want to keep yourself focused on an enemy and you just want to position yourself slightly, a backflip is okay. But if you're trying to dodge things, don't ever do it. Backflips are such a bad idea in God Hand. Side steps are quicker, dodging in place is quicker if you're just trying to dodge. Backflips are worthless. It's better to just use the button to turn around and run away, which you're going to need to do a lot too. If you're in a group situation, if you hit an enemy down and everyone's mobbing up on you, just turn around and run away. You need to do that a lot. So that's the big thing with God Hand, is you need to know how to position yourself in fights, how to get people kind of spread out, and you want to know how to set up a good combo when you manage to guard break an enemy. Because if you can do that, you can just keep wailing on them until they're dead, essentially. That's the other concept too, is canceling. You want to get good at canceling out of moves by hitting up on the right stick, because it lets you dodge in place. Dodging lets you cancel any attack animation in God Hand, so if you're like I was saying, by mapping your third move to a guard break, you can cancel it as soon as you throw it out, and by doing that, if you cancel it after you start the animation for it, it'll still go through, it'll stop the animation after it connects. It's weird timing for cancels, but basically you do the guard break move and then immediately hit up on the right stick, and by doing that, it swings it out, it has a chance to hit the enemy. If they dodge it in place, you canceled it anyways. If it hits them, you canceled it and it hit them, so you're set up to do whatever you want. There you go. there's a whole bunch of advice. Like I said, practice the first level over and over and over again. See if you can get through it without taking a hit. If you end up dying, just start the game over, because continuing means it's going to continue you past a bunch of enemies you already fought, and you're not going to be learning from that. Set up a handicap for yourself and don't let yourself die. Also, take advantage of the environment. They have items that you can throw at enemies, and weapons are very, very, very useful. So use them in the best situations that you can. If there's a mob and you have a weapon in your hand, you can actually control the mob with that weapon as opposed to having to run away and take your time fighting. Because weapons have a weak attack and a strong attack, and the strong attack is really good because the strong attack hits multiple enemies at once. So you can knock all the enemies away with it. You do need to plan for that in advance, though. It has a really long startup on it. I feel like to play God Hand perfectly, you gotta hold the controller like a fight stick. Sometimes you actually do want to take your left hand and just move it over to the right stick, so you're focused purely on dodging and the combat when you're locked in on one-on-one fights that are intense. Specifically with demons. Demons are the best practice you're going to get out of God Hand, because they're some of the most intense fights in the game that you can have around the beginning, and demon encounters are all very different from one another, and they're very quick. They're very intense, and usually people will burn their God Hand on it, so if you're trying to get good at it, just don't rely on it. Don't use your God Hand meter for anything. Try to learn how enemies fight you. And just also don't worry too much, because if it's too difficult for you, you can use God Hand meter to grovel and just take your level down anyway, so the game can be easier for you. Dying lowers the difficulty too. But if you want to play on level die, if you want to keep it on level die the whole time, you're just going to have to pick up on all that. You're going to need to recognize enemy attack patterns, because a lot of enemies share the same attack patterns. You'll get used to all of that. You'll recognize it, like, okay, he's doing this one, he's going to punch 3 times, and then he ends with this move. Or he's going to swing this a few times, and then he swings it down on me at the end, so that's when you sidestep or go in for a counterattack. Trading blows can actually be useful if you have a quick attack, but that comes later in the game when you start unlocking moves. If you're gonna also get good at it, you should pull up a guide online to see what the speeds of attacks in God Hand are, because that matters a lot. Your combo in God Hand, to get the best use out of it, you want it to be a fast combo. Damage does not matter. You want your combo in God Hand to be quick. That's the whole purpose to it. So if you can get moves that are quicker than the ones you start with, that's very good for you, and it'll help you. And yeah, trading blows is not easy to do, by the way. It's, you're probably going to end up just taking damage too, and it's not going to be worth it. But if you do have quick attacks, a nice thing too is there's always exploits to AI, thanks to how a lot of enemies respond to certain things. So, for example, setting your combo up like that your third move is a guard break, since enemies will dodge it, they typically try to respond with a counterattack immediately after when they're on level die. And thanks to that, since you know that's coming, you can dodge the move and then get attacks on them again right afterwards. Or even better, if you have fast enough moves in your combo, you can just wail on them because they're going to try to attack you right after. And if you're able to cancel quick enough in some circumstances, you can just do it anyways. Even if you don't have the quickest moves in your combo, you can just respond. So, that's also a big part of God Hand, is recognizing patterns in AI and exploiting it. That's how people do things like no damage runs of God Hand. It's not an easy thing, and it's not a thing you're probably going to do consistently either. It's a game that one mistake pretty much means you're going to get screwed. Which is why it's good practice to just kind of keep starting over if you take a death. So you come to terms with how difficult the game is, how relentless it is, and you become accustomed to that and try to build off of that and try to prevent yourself from making mistakes. Okay, anyways, I'll stop talking about God Hand now, I'm sorry. But, I hope that helped. I would be very happy if more people started playing God Hand, because it's one of my favorite games, and I think it's pretty underappreciated for what it is. Even if it has a cult following, I still think it's pretty underappreciated. More people need to play it. And as much as people will gush about things like Bayonetta, God Hand has some of the best combat in a 3D beat-em-up period. Specifically because it doesn't feel like a beat-em-up. It feels more akin to a fighting game in a beat-em-up environment. I mean, that's what I really like about it too, is that it's a single-player game, and yet it has so much to it anyways. There's all of these techniques, strategies. I'm so happy a game can exist that has all that to it. And also can just be so different every time you play it. Because even though enemies will be positioned in the same locations, they still will fight you differently. They don't always just do the same thing every time. They open with the same attack. It's a game that's always changing, so you just need to be on your toes and you need to be good at it. The good target test. Yeah, I like the song a lot. I always liked it. And I was very, very sad that Brawl did that. That Brawl decided, hey, let's just streamline this. The whole point of the target test was that you were supposed to... You're kind of getting like training for the character you were playing as. Because I remember that was one of the things for Jigglypuffs. Was a good example. Jigglypuff has a target at the very end that you have to actually use pound to get over to, since you run out of jumps if you don't use pound. And you wouldn't know that unless you did the target test, probably. A lot of players wouldn't pick up on the fact that, oh hey, this is actually a movement option. It's not just a move. I can use this to stay in the air longer. Or Young Link has the wall jumping that you have to do, and a lot of people didn't know. I remember people were stuck on that when Melee came out. They didn't know how you're supposed to do that one. And then, because it's like, okay, well, I'm stuck in this hole, what the hell do I do? By panicking and running around and jumping, they realize, wait, I can jump off the walls? And then it's like, here's a big revelation for you. You can actually wall jump in Melee. So, it was very depressing that they just decided with Brawl, hey, no, let's throw that out. Let's not have it be character specific anymore. Let's have it be really boring and uninteresting. Also, this song is bringing back some memories of being stuck in a bowling alley. Okay, I gotta go to work. Have fun fucking your frog. Well, have a good time at work. So he's not gonna fuck me. He doesn't even know me. What's your favorite treasure game? Probably Guardian Heroes. Have you ever tried X6? It's really tough, but I love it. It's really tough for the wrong reasons, I feel like. I still like things about it, I guess. But it just has some mind-numbingly stupid decisions in some of the level design. I mean, it was a game made in less than a year. They rushed that one out, and it shows. But more power to you if you're into it. I mean, I'm in a weird position too because a lot of people love X3, and I'm kind of not that big on it. Namely because X3, they recycle like 3 or 4 enemies for every single level, and levels are very flat in terms of design. There isn't too much to them. I mean, most of X3 is just enemy fights. Like, okay, preemptively too, some of the enemies in X3 just attack you as soon as they come on screen and can get a cheap shot on you if you weren't sure that they were positioned there. One of my favorite examples would have to be the, I forget what his name is, the Rhino stage. They have those drill robots, and the drills deflect your shots. They're already really tedious to fight. And as soon as you kill it, it shoots the drills off into you, and you don't know that the first time. So if you were distanced enough, you can get out of the way of it. Although, if you're distanced enough, it's going to respawn the enemy and you have to do the fight again anyways. But you're probably going to get hit by that the first time. And everything in that stage does excessive damage. Everything has damage turned up way too much. So it's very punishing when it doesn't really need to be. It's kind of excessively difficult for the wrong reasons a lot of the time. And even then, it's not even that hard of a game. You just have to pick up on things like that. X3 has a lot of cool ideas, but the boss battles are all really easy to exploit. Like half of them, you can just get them stuck in a corner and have them not move. The soundtrack is hit or miss for me. I really like some songs. I'll say this about X3. X3 has the fucking best opening stage to any of those games. It is so good. The music in the opening stage of X3 is fucking great. It's probably my favorite opening stage music, coupled in with the fact that Zero's theme in X3 is fucking great. And the whole way it plays out too. It feels more like an opening stage than X2's does, kind of. Because X2 throws you into it and kind of expects you to already know how it works. It's not introducing you necessarily to anything outside of, I guess, you do have to wall climb at that one part before you get crushed. But I don't think it's as effective as how Mega Man X1 kind of tossed you into a hole and gave you time to figure out what to do. X2's opening stage is very fun to play. X2 feels like it's more designed for people who were big fans of X1, so a lot of it's catered around that. You have dashing out the door, which is fucking great. That's really, really cool that they give you that, because it means they could design levels around dashing. But X3's opening stage, not only is it structured more like an opening stage, but the fact that you get kidnapped and then you get to play a Zero, like, that was the coolest fucking thing as a kid. That was amazing to experience that as a kid, because it's like, oh, here he is in all these games, I really want to play as him, and then there you go, right out the door, you're Zero. Too bad he sucks in that game. Zero is terrible to play as. And then X4, he's fucking amazing to play as because he's so broken and ridiculous in it, thanks to the fact that you can dash cancel his sword animation. But god, is it fun. I would not want to play Mega Man X4 as X. I'm very happy to know that that game is divided between players, though. Half the people prefer playing as X, half prefer playing as Zero. But Zero is so much fucking fun in X4. Oh my god. That game is great to play as Zero. It's so fun. But X3, I'm tossed up after the opening stage. I think a lot of levels aren't that interesting. The bosses are typically pretty boring. And like I said, easy to exploit. I do like the first Doppler stage music a lot. I think it's very cool music for a final area. Especially with how it looks. It feels like you're having like one final little endurance run before the final boss. If someone's getting bored, I'm sorry. Someone asked me what I thought of Mega Man X. I'm sorry. And yeah, X5's text was a big part of why I'm not wild about it. There's way too much of that. I'll also say X4 was weird playing again recently because after how obsessive I became with X1 and X2, it's weird feeling X4 because it's like, oh, they added delay time onto this now. Oh, I can't just dash and jump frantically to maintain perfect top speed. There's a little bit of a delay when I land before I can actually dash again and do a dashing jump. Stuff like that, you notice it. It doesn't feel exactly the same, which, not a bad thing. Still feels fine, but I do prefer that. I like how responsive Mega Man X 1 through 3 are with their controls. I always thought to myself X4 was one of my favorites. I think I kind of lowered that more after going back and playing all of them again. I still like it a lot, but I think maybe it's because I'm such a sucker for the original movement and the X series. Yeah, oh my god, X4 has some really nice sprite work in it. The pre-rendered backdrop stuff, not so great, but oh my god, some of the art in that is fucking stellar. I love the character select screen portraits. I like how they look on the level select screen. Just their in-game sprites are really good too. Then I have weird jarring moments in it because I remember... Whose stage is that when the vines come out of the wall with the weak points on them? Little thorns come out? I remember looking at those and going like, whoa, what? Did they not finish these? Because the characters are so detailed, the bosses are so detailed, and I remember when those pop out, they're pillow shaded. And I don't know if people know what that means with pixel art, but pillow shading means that you're not actually shading it around... It sounded like I said shitting. It doesn't sound like you're shading it around a light source. You just have a consistent kind of gradient look around the edges of the sprite. And it was noticeable on that in specific. There's a... What stage is that? I'm trying to remember now. Is that Split Mushroom? Who has that part? That you're on an elevator and there's little thorns that come out of the wall. Those things are pillow shaded and they look incomplete compared to everything else in the game. It was really, really jarring. To me. I don't think most people noticed it. I've noticed that with sprites in some of the other games too. How some of it ends up just looking unfinished. Because it probably was, and time constraints or whatever, they didn't end up going back to polish. It's actually weird looking at the prototype for X3 because they redid a lot of the art in it for the better too. Even though I'd much rather play X2 to X3, X2 is so fucking good. It's up there. it's really far up there for me. It's very close to reaching X1 level for me. I really, really like a lot about X2. If it weren't for a few things. Outside of just presentation kind of being lacking a little bit compared to the first game, like the soundtrack does not compare to X1 soundtrack. But I hate that there's a lot of waiting around in X2 in regards to bosses. The fucking junkyard mini boss, where the little spider, not spider, I don't know what you described it as, a little bug that possesses the junk robots. Waiting for that shit takes forever, and you want to shoot yourself if you don't kill that thing on one cycle. Because having to wait a full 10 seconds for it to possess another robot is miserable. That is way too long to wait. And then they have a lot of boss fights that kind of, I guess not a lot, they have like 2 that work that way. Crystal Snail's a good example. You having to wait for him to spin around and everything to finally take a shot on him. I don't like that kind of thing. It's why I like Mega Man, the idea of you shooting in general. It means you can hurt these bosses and take risks to still attack these bosses, even while they're doing attacks, if you know how they work. And having that taken away, that you're just waiting for a pattern, I don't really like that. But that's kind of it. I love a lot about X2 though. Some of the stage designs are really, really fun. Some of the boss fights are really fun. Most of them get more intense than X1's boss fights get. And the, oh my god. Wire Sponge's weapon that you get, that little grappling hook, is so much fun to use. Not to mention you get an air dash in that game too. It feels like the natural progression for that series. Mega Man X is a lot of fun because it's Mega Man, but also here's more movement options. It's faster. There's more going on and everything. Levels are bigger. It's like an upgrade of that. And then here's X2. Okay, well, part of what made X1 so much fun is that we gave you all these options for movement and everything now too. Like you can dash and everything. So let's add on to that. Now you can air dash. Now you have a grappling hook, so you can grab onto walls and zip around. They give you the motorbike stage, which is not very fun. I will admit, it's not actually very fun. But props to them that you at least control it independently. It's not like X4, where it's just a little shooter minigame. You do get to ride it throughout the level. You can take it through for a little while. It's why X3 also just doesn't do too much for me. It doesn't feel like it really adds too much. I don't like how so much gets recycled in it, how bland a lot of it feels most of the time. Even though some of the ideas in it are very cool. And what I will say about X3 over X2, the presentation in X3 in terms of the art, stellar by comparison to X2. X3 has some really nice looking sprites in it, and they almost didn't look that way too. If anyone looks up the prototype ROM that's floating around, they went in last second and fixed up a lot of that and ended up making it look much nicer. You plan on giving Bippy real boxing moves? Absolutely. There's going to be plenty of that, don't worry. We're basing a lot of these animations on actual boxing, too. I imagine Tough Bippy's influenced a lot from Mega Man X games. Yeah, I mean, the movement that I was already showcasing that we have for it is pretty intentionally structured, very close to how the original X had its movement set up. Right down to how the speed you move at is very similar. The rate that you, just in terms of gravity, jump height, all of that, it's all very, very similar. just sped up slightly more, and since we're using things like input buffering and everything too, means it's much easier to move around quickly. Dash jumps are not going to be a thing that people may accidentally whiff, since X didn't really buffer that or anything for you. So you get to have that all opened up to you, since the game accounts for a lot of that. Bippy has input buffers. It has it predicts for ladders too. Like, it has its own individual hitbox for ladders. So if it sees like, okay, you're doing a dash jump, so you're moving very, very quickly. There's a ladder right here. You tapped up 3 frames ago, and now you're overlapping, or at least you're very close to overlapping this ladder. You're right on the edge of it, and you're facing it. The game goes, okay, with all of this, you probably were trying to grab this ladder. We're gonna let you grab the ladder, and stuff like that makes it very easy to just kind of zip around quickly because of that. That was one major gripe I have with the X series, is I hate ladders in Mega Man X. Namely because ladders in Mega Man X, you need to be lined up so perfectly with them that it breaks your momentum when you're trying to move around quickly. I don't like having to pay super close attention that I'm lined up just right with this ladder, because you also want to tab jump as soon as you're on the ladder, because you just want to fall down the ladder. You don't want to climb down the ladder. But if you didn't get on the ladder, oops, you can't tab jump, because if you tab jump, then you just jumped, and it means you're not going to grab the ladder if you're attempting to grab it a second time. It means you have to wait to hit the ground, and then you can grab the ladder. It's why we're trying to have it predict that a lot easier. Not to mention, Bippy, you can jump up ladders. I love that as an option in any video game. Ladders are not going to be a thing that really get in the way too much. You can very quickly navigate around them. And then the game will come out and people say, oh, this feels awful. And I go, oh, I'm sorry. Although Corey tested it a while back and he said it felt really, really good to play. And he said he liked how fast he could move around. So, hopefully Corey's reaction to it is how most people happen to take it in. Have you done much non-game coding? Yeah, all the time. I mean, a lot of the stream stuff that I'm using, it's just custom code. Yeah, Trick or Treat, we're planning an update for it that would come after its release, and the update would be completely free. It's not going to be DLC either. It's not like some other outside thing you're going to have to download and put in the game either. It's just going to be a patch. You're getting new content put in directly, and that's it. I'm sad Ukulele got bad feedback from fans. I'm gonna say a few things because I think people were excessive in that regard. How Jim Sterling, for example, gave it a 2 out of 10. I remember Donkey said it fucking sucks and it's terrible. I do not think Ukulele is bad. I'd much rather play it than something like Mighty Number 9. Mighty Number 9 I would say is like a 3 out of 10 game. Ukulele I'd say is like a 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10, which that probably sounds bad to most people, I guess, but for me it means what it means. I would say that's very middle of the road. I'd say that's an okay-ish game. It didn't stick out too much. I really, really love the movement and controls in ukulele, but I can tell it got rushed out. And I could also tell they're grabbing ideas from the wrong games. It is not a proper follow-up to Banjo-Kazooie. There's a lot of Donkey Kong 64 in there. There's a lot of Banjo-Tooie in there. They were mixing in elements from the games that people did not care for when Banjo-Kazooie did so much right. Because Banjo-Kazooie is very fixed, not too big, not too small levels that are easy to navigate. And since they're sized the way they are, they feel packed with things to do. Not to mention everything's themed around the level. Ukulele is not like that. Ukulele has a minecart that appears in the second stage for some reason. Ukulele has snowmen that appear outside of the ice level for some reason. They get recycled more than once. Ukulele has those pig knights who don't feel like they belong in any level. Ukulele feels like they had assets ready and they were going to plan a game out and they had to just kind of scatter them everywhere and make repeated use of them because they didn't have enough time. That's why the areas feel very messy. That's why they didn't even set up invisible walls in certain points so you could just easily exploit your way outside of boundaries and everything. I can tell it was rushed out very clearly. There's a lot of oversights. The fact that the cutscenes aren't even really cutscenes either. It's just idle animations with 3 minutes of dialogue going by. Levels are so barren and empty and bland. The first level was the most fun I had with it, but even then, it's not that great of a level. It needed a lot more time to be made, which I wish they just did. I really do just wish they set the time aside to flesh it out more. I don't like when people end up doing that. It was what disappointed me about Armacrog. Armacrog could have been really good, but they delayed it once very momentarily and just kind of pumped it out and charged too much money for it too. Probably to hope for like, okay, can we get money to maybe support a sequel or to add on to it or patch it or something? And it already was such a specific project anyways, and it was so under-delivered that no, it's not going to work. You're going to get even less sales because you're charging so much. I really, really wanted... I wanted Armacrog to be good. It was so sad it wasn't. Have I been cleaning? Why is there two of this? Am I a moron, or did I just clean the same thing twice? What's going on? Did I copy a frame by mistake? Might have. Oh boy, I haven't been paying any attention. What happened? Wait, what happened? I'm missing a frame. Did I lose the frame that I was working on? How did that happen? How did I lose the frame I was working? Oh my god, I lost the whole frame. Oh man. Because look, this is the frame that I was missing. I wiped out the frame I was doing, so I'm gonna have to go through the stream VOD and try to rescue it. Oof. No, I can't undo it. I clicked off the frame, so I already lost it. I'm gonna have to go look at the VOD and try to grab it. Yeah, chat was too distracting, I guess. Oh well. Oh well. That's disappointing. Wonder when I lost it. I didn't even notice. That's really a shame.
Will Julian get mad at you? Of course not. Julian won't care. Oh well. Like I said, I'll pull it off the stream after it ends. That is really disappointing though. Gym will save files. No, that's not how it works. Do you guys hang out with the gang grumps? Not very often, no. Probably hang out with Ross the most. Yeah, live chat probably was a mistake. Especially that not too much was coming up anyways. It's usually just God, some of the discussion earlier. I'm sorry for anyone who came out on that. Hearing about sucking yourself off. And crushes on musical amphibians. There we go, I said it. Frog, it's not a lizard. Everyone kept saying lizard. You fucks. You fuckers. This was the song I was talking about earlier. This was written just for the Xbox Live release of Toe Jam and Earl. It's really, really good. Lost frames are making our frogs gay. I guess that's what Alex Jones was warning us about. The song is so fucking good. I wish the people who were doing the new Toe Jam and Earl would get this person involved. This is what it should sound like, because this is fucking excellent. This is so good. And it sounds just like the original soundtrack too. They use the same samples and everything. This is perfection. Did you copy the flip sprite? No, because the flip sprite wasn't clean. Okay, listen. He's a frog. He's amphibious. It's not just a reptile. It's not a lizard. That was what I'm saying. Everyone kept saying lizard. It's not a lizard. Oh, Toe Jam and Earl is great. It's one of my favorite Genesis games. Same with Julian. It's one of our favorites. We used to play it all the time. I'd like to play it on Oni Plays, but I don't think Chris would like it. That's because that's the sound. That's the onomatopoeia. That's the sound the frogs make over there. They sound different in Japan. You fool, you simpleton. Don't you know why they're named that? You moron, you Nimrod. That looks disgusting. One versus two boxer fights. It was a one-on-one boxer fight. Force Sony to play it, he'll love it. No, he won't. Believe me. Believe me, no, he won't. If Mega Man X was gonna bore him, I'm positive at this point anything would do it. I think Chris just likes games he's familiar with. That's what it seems to be. Oh, that's right, it is Kiro. I'm an idiot. What is the name based off of? I thought that's what it was based off of. Any thoughts about the Insane trilogy? Plenty. Try to sell them on there being a pack of chickens with a tomato launcher. That's not gonna last. Oh, people donated again. Oh my god. Okay, Yusuf CWS donated 5 and said condolences for your lost frame. Oh. Don't remind me. I'm really upset about that. You Tinbon donated $80. Why? No one deserves to put up the shit you have been lately. Don't worry about it. Take my funny money. Listen, I've been saying it all stream. I'm gonna try to refund that after, because we just did a big stream before and we raised so much money that I really don't. It's very, very nice of you. $80, Jesus. Thank you, Utinban. I'm gonna refund it after the stream though. I'm sorry. I feel bad about taking, especially that much, after we already just had a big stream like that. And someone gonna make fan art not taking donations. That's happened. I've seen like 5 people draw that already. Here, we'll have an event this Saturday. We'll have Gay Frog Saturday. How about that? By the way, this is Mega Man X8. The song is really, really good, and I was completely surprised by it, because if I was gonna think of Mega Man X music in a game that could do CD quality audio, this is what I would think of. This is a very, very good song. And I need to play X8. I really do. I don't remember X8 well enough. To the point that I didn't remember the song until recently. There's also, someone posted an X3 remix of this, which is really solid too. That's why this song is so good. It just sounds like you're taking the music from the original X series and just using higher quality audio. It's really good. You should have kept it. In this world, it's either be eaten. What, the donation? You mean Vord or not to be Vord? What a goofy phrasing. I remember the first time I heard it, I had no idea what the fuck that meant. Who decided on that? Who decided on naming it that? X8 is absolutely underrated. To the point that I don't remember too much about it. It's leagues ahead of X7. I remember that, but not too much else. I'd like to go back and play it again. Yeah, that's right. Totally tubular, dude. Sell me on Dippy. I'm sold on you and Julian, but really pitch me on this game concept. You're probably not gonna like it. I hate pitching video games because you can't. You feasibly cannot. Unless your game has some kind of gimmick and that's all you're using to market it. If you're just making a traditional game of some sort, you're not going to be able to pitch it with words. People just need to see it and play it. That even goes for TV sometimes. Well, there's a good example, God Hand. If I was gonna pitch God Hand, I would say it's a 3D beat 'em up. It's over the top. I don't know what else to say. It's a very challenging, over the top 3D beat 'em up. That tells you nothing. I would probably look the other way if that's all I heard. You just need to see it. It is funny how people clung on to that one line that Julian typed on the Patreon too. He was the one that wrote it up, where it said, was it games that are breaking the mold or something? We didn't even want to put that on there. It's just like, you need to fill up space. But, the other end too is that if you're pitching how a game plays, the easy way out would be like, oh, it's sort of like this, this, and this. But if you're pitching anything, you can't do that. You can't just make comparisons because it doesn't feel original then. But that's probably the best way you could pitch a game, is just to say what kind of aspects are in it. I don't know, I'd have to think of how I'd even phrase it. But since I'm not pitching this to an investor or something, all I'll say is if you like the controls of Mega Man X1, but you wish it were quicker and a little more responsive, and instead of shooting things, you'd rather have combat that's kind of like X4 Zero mixed with Astro Boy and Game Boy Advance, with a little bit of Mischief Makers, so you can deflect attacks by punching them, similar to how Marina and that would grab things just before they hit her, that kind of thing. That's sort of how Bippy is. It's a game with a lot put into the movement, so there's plenty there in terms of platforming challenges, and then in regards to combat, it's reading enemies and responding to them to find weaknesses. What's funny about pitching, by the way, whoever just said that in the chat, everyone I've ever talked to or friends with who have pitched to television, actually gotten shows and everything, always what I'm told is, yes, they tell you to avoid these things when you're doing a pitch. Yes, don't actually bring in something that's already finished, because if you show it to them, they're going to be mad because they didn't have a say in it. And I remember watching videos, some network head from Nickelodeon was making a tutorial, and she said like, oh, come in dressed as your characters because that would be fun. Things like that so they remember you. Yeah, no. Almost everything that those recommend apparently don't work. Your best bet is to actually have something to show, because words are not going to do it for you, at least with like an animated pitch. Words are not going to do it for you. You need to actually show them what it is. They need to get a taste of it so they're more familiar with it. Like, oh, so that's the kind of humor, because you can say like, oh, it's off the walls and zany with lots of visual gags, and they'd just be like, what? But if you actually show it to them, then they can understand exactly what that means, where the direction is probably going to be going, what kind of writing, how it'd be handled. They get a good clear indicator of everything. And well, yes, they're going to be frustrated because, oh, you did this without us even having a say. You're putting this out there like that. They at least get a good idea of all of it, and they can give you feedback from that point on. As long as it's nice and rough. If you're just going to present to them like, oh, here's my 25-minute pilot I already did, not the best move. At least from what I've heard from everyone I know of who's been pitching. That, and they're probably just not going to listen to you anyways if you're trying to get an animation. It's pretty closed doors. You need to have connections. Animation is such a closed-off industry. I'm so happy games have opened up so much, because looking at an industry like that is so depressing. I feel bad for anyone really trying to get their foot in the door there, because it's so difficult. Not to mention people who are in there prioritize trying to keep people out of there. There are so many blacklists. Not to mention hearing from people who are already in there, just acknowledging the fact that there are, and making indirect threats about it. It's depressing seeing people like that. Is Bippy gonna have kicks? Not currently. It would make sense for him, I think. But currently, no. That's probably true. The animation industry is so shitty, it's probably why a lot of animators are just trying to get in on video games. I would say so, to a certain degree. Just do it like this. I probably could. How long does it take to make one frame? Well, when I'm streaming it takes a very long time. When I'm doing it on my own, it doesn't take that long. It's always strange reading responses, even about like streams that I do. I remember seeing people posting saying like, it takes so fucking long on one drawing. Yeah, it's a tedious process if you want to get it looking smooth, especially when you're streaming, because then you're distracted while doing it. But yeah, it's a tedious process. It's not easy. It's why you don't see this typically being done by a lot of people. They shortcut it or intentionally give themselves super low resolutions to work within. It's the most fun you can have in an app. Penny was telling me, or what was it? See, I can't even do it now. I'm so out of it. Penny was showing me it on her computer book. I'd like to see somebody actually animate the whole Bargingo story. I like that as an idea, that it was someone who rented out a local television ad because they got imprisoned and they're asking for help. Bippy's collision detection right now is probably very stupid, but essentially it's making checks on a couple of things. There's basically tiles in the game are broken into a grid format, and based on where on that grid Bippy is positioned relative to his previous position, and then also where that tile is located, a whole bunch of different aspects, but it's basically just checking, okay, is he colliding with this area on the grid? Where was he positioned previously? And by doing that, it ensures that, okay, he will stay on this side of a wall, or he'll go on this side of the wall based on where he was before. And within certain areas, it means, okay, well, he should not be able to get out of this at all. There should be no way this character should be outside these boundaries, so forcibly keeps him inbound. Things like that. There's points being drawn to keep him along. I'm just gonna say yes to anyone who's trying to still figure out whatever my name is. Like, I'm just gonna say yes. I've been doing that since the beginning. It was funny. I actually got sent a message about that by someone randomly. They found a gallery of mine, and they sent me a message saying like, hey, that guy on Twitter, he that one name when he said Mason, and if you look this up and it shows your address, and it wasn't my address. Nowhere near us. I looked up every name that he ran through, and nothing listed pointed around here. It seems like people want to believe a lot of this, I guess. But I was being serious when I said that guy is nowhere on a proper trail right now. It's why I was messing with him to begin with. It's also why one of the old Best Gamers members was insisting he knew my information. I never was honest when I was doing the Best Gamers, just because I knew they were like that. I didn't trust them with personal information, and it paid off. It really paid off. I'm glad I didn't trust anyone with that kind of thing. How did he come up with that? He was contacting the one guy from the Best Gamers and was just reading 4chan threads, which already don't have accurate information. That was why he ended up saying Mason and had that picture of that bald guy, because I remember someone in a previous stream even admitted he was the one that posted that in a 4chan thread. I thought it was funny that people believed it. It's as easy as just going on Google and desperately searching. It was really obvious that that's all that was happening. Especially with some of the stuff out there, because it's like, okay, I know who he's been talking to. He made it really obvious by dropping some of these names around because those aren't even accurate. Did you trust Rock Hug? Yeah, I did. Around the end, I did. When we first started, I was paranoid about everybody, but at this point, he's trust. Like, all of them are good friends at this point. I trust Chrissy. I trust him. It was just when it was first going, I absolutely did not trust anyone because I was just used to that happening a lot too. They'd fuck with each other in ways that weren't even funny, but they would go, huh, it's a joke. They're trying to get each other fired from jobs, or hey, let me get you evicted from your apartment by making fun of your landlord on Facebook. That kind of thing. It's like, okay, you guys have fun with that. I'm gonna stay away from that. No thanks. And you get called a pussy, and it's like, oh, alright. You sure showed me, Mr. Big Man. Have you tried Persona 5 yet? I really want to. I really want to. I've heard a lot of negativity from my friends in regards to it, but I've said it repeatedly. Those games ooze with style, even if there's things in them I really don't care for. Like Persona 4's writing, I could completely look past. Like I really was not interested in a lot of that. But really good soundtrack, amazing presentation visually. I love their graphic design, especially Persona 5. The way that they have that set up for battles, that they have they're rendering out like a silhouette essentially through your model and layering it underneath your character, so it's like a drop shadow effect in Photoshop essentially. That looks so cool, and just how stylish the whole thing. If I really want to see it, just because all those menus are beautiful with how they're designed. That UI looks incredible, and it's a selfish reason, but that's part of the reason why I want to play it. I just want to marvel at how well designed it is in terms of that. I know Julian, I know they live together. Yeah, but Julian's never posted any of that online. At the very worst, we're just gonna get recognized, because they'll recognize Julian, which, I'll say this too, I don't mind if that happens. Like, we've been stopped a few times, and it's been fine. It's flattering to meet people like that. Because this sort of thing really shouldn't matter, stupid Let's Plays, but it is really flattering seeing people like that being stopped, and it's like, oh wow. It's, I'm surprised that people cared enough for that sort of thing even. It's, the couple of people we met on our own when we got stopped were nice. My only bad experience, and that's what I'm worried about if our information's out there, is that one person who did recognize us when we went out somewhere with Chris, and they went, "Ding dong, right?" It's okay, I won't tell anybody. And I was just like, oh my fucking god. Because that is the last thing you want to say to somebody. It just makes you look like a creepy weirdo. And the whole time it was awkward too, because they kept asking really personal things and would interrupt conversations with it. It's just like, holy shit. Talk about being socially awkward. Jesus Christ, don't do that. I tried to be friendly about it, but still, it was really uncomfortable. Especially because I remember I was talking to Matt about something really, really personal and serious, and he ended up interrupting to ask about, like, was it paying taxes or something? It was like, what does that have to do with anything? But I'd like to stray away from it being a constant occurrence. It's already happened so many times without anything really being out there that I kind of dread that happening, that it's just non-stop and we can't go out anymore. I don't want that happening. That, and I know so many people. Like I said, one of the guys from The Best Gamers is actively just freaking out on everybody this past month. I don't want that kind of thing following us back here, and then also to the point that Julian gets to be tangled in all of it, because he doesn't. That shouldn't be a thing that happens to him. It has nothing to do with him. Yeah, if he's listening, I'm sorry I didn't say anything at the time. I wanted to be friendly about it, but that was very, very awkward. You should try to handle that a little bit better if you're gonna meet people. Imagining the Trigger Treat soundtrack sounding like Darkstalkers. Soundtrack's actually done already. We might want a couple of additional songs, but it's mostly done. It's kind of a strange... I don't know how I describe it, I guess. If you like the soundtrack and Hardcore Uprising and Guilty Gear with maybe a little bit of Metal Slug 5 on it. That's that, and it's Halloween themed, so a lot of it sounds like it has a hint of being spooky to it. If you think that sounds good, that's what all the music is. Modern Capcom might be able to handle New Dark Souls. Absolutely not. I would not want them to do it. I'm kind of glad they didn't do it. Listen, Darkstalkers are not dead. They told me so. And then because a port of a game didn't sell well, that was enough for them to assume nobody wanted it. Is it safe to say Metal Slug 5 underrated? I like some things about Metal Slug 5, but I would say it's still beneath where Metal Slug 2 and 3 were at. Well, I guess I should say X, because 2 ran slower than X. Point is, X and 3 are both really, really good games. Metal Slug 4 was not very good, and then Metal Slug 5 was decent. It's a good game, but it still is not in the same league as 2 and 3. In terms of stuff that they added on, a lot of it isn't too interesting, like weapons or vehicles. but there are some pretty good things about it. It's weird that a lot got cut from it too. There was gonna be there's a prisoner who you could free who would actually function kind of like another character. He'd run around and shoot stuff for you. They cut a boss out of it. It was like a giant turtle robot, I remember. They took out some cutscenes. There was going to be more emphasis on the story. Most like 5's final boss is amazing. I don't know if I'd say that. The fact that they kept it obscured in the shadows, I think, was a little bit disappointing. It's cool from a stylistic perspective, but in terms of it being a final boss for a game, it kind of reminded me of the one boss from 3, the one that's on top of the tower, the weird god thing. The Duke and Prisoner. No. It was what was his? Everyone gave him a nickname. He's blonde and he wears sunglasses. There's unused sprites from him in the data. He was supposed to just he looks like he's just a normal character you could play as. So if you freed him, he'd just run around and shoot enemies. My biggest gripe with 5, I think, is the sliding though. I don't think Metal Slug needed a slide. I'm sure they thought that was going to be the thing to differentiate it and be useful for dodging stuff, but the slide is clumsy because you have to hold down and hit jump to slide. D is not being used for anything, by the way. D is not being used for anything in Metal Slug 5. I would have much rather had it just mapped to the D button. D for dash? Maybe? When you're trying to jump and shoot downwards, you're probably holding down already, or you might hit it early as you hit jump, so you accidentally end up sliding. I remember having that happen a couple times, and you never use it. You only use it in very forced situations in Metal Slug 5. You crawl so slowly too in Metal Slug anyways, that coming out of a slide into a crawl never feels good. It's I don't know. I think it was a needless addition. It did nothing to help the game in any way at all. It was just kind of a gimmick tacked on for a few points in the game, and just got in the way of how naturally the controls kind of flowed in previous games. A dash with invincibility frames would have been a little bit better. That was something that I actually liked a lot about Contra Hardcore, is that the slide, you were invincible during it. So it meant you had to use it during boss fights to get through things. And even then, you could keep going with it. Like, you could keep popping slides off in it. It wasn't as limited as Metal Slug 5's slide that you could do. But 5 is still a pretty fun game. I like a lot about it. And if I had to play any Metal Slug that came after 3, I'd probably want to play 5. What do you think of 6? 6 was a major disappointment. Oh my god. I was heartbroken when I played 6. I was so excited. I got the anthology for the Wii because it's like, oh my god, I finally get to play this. I saw so much. I can't wait, this is going to be so good. And, oof, I don't know what they were thinking. Stats are not needed in a game like Metal Slug, and all it did was make the game feel more tedious, because now instead of all the characters functioning really well, all of them feel gimped. It's like if there were, I don't know, 5 Mario games that you were used to, and they all felt very similar in terms of control. Mario had the same kind of jump height, he had the same kind of movement, and then the 6th game, even though it looks the same and functions exactly the same, they decided, okay, now you have 4 different Marios, but you have to choose what they're good at. You either have a Mario who moves at half the speed for no reason, you have a Mario who controls exactly the same but can't jump for every second. You can only jump once a second. So there's like a cooldown timer on it. There's a Mario who can only jump half as high. That kind of thing. Like, just arbitrarily adding in that sort of thing that you're now gimping every character. So you can't just play as someone who feels like the old games. They're all gimped, but have buffs in certain areas. I don't want that. Mario, Ding Dong doesn't like Super Mario 2. No, I love Mario 2, but Mario and Mario 2 controls just fine. No one feels gimped in Mario 2, except for Toad, I guess. He's not too useful. I guess everyone's going to misread what I meant by that now. They're going to say, well, there were Mario games where you play as characters and they had different stats. I don't mean like that. Because those were slight changes. I'm saying completely just stripping things off for no real reason. Worms did that too, I remember. Worms did Worms Revolution. They had classes when Worms is not a game that really needs classes. They, what was it? It was like, oh, this worm's shots do more damage, but he has less health. This worm can move faster, but it has health. Like, or no, that's what it was. Is they don't do more damage. They have more health, but they move slower. This one moves faster, but has less health. This one heals at the end of every turn. So okay, just pick that one, I guess. No playing as the normal worm either, because this one's just unfair. It doesn't work. It doesn't work for a game like that. Maybe you could figure out a way to make it work, but that's not the way to do it. And that's why it was weird for Metal Slug 6. It's not a game that needs that sort of thing done. It didn't really need that. And it was noticeable too. Because certain characters just felt worthless. It felt like you weren't hurting anything and you were just wasting your time playing it. It works in other games, but I don't think Metal Slug is the right spot for it. And it's like the idea of people who shove in RPG mechanics into every single kind of video game. It can work in other genres. You can genre blend RPG elements, but you need to be very careful about how you handle it. Sometimes it just won't work unless you're doing very, very minimal stuff with it. And Metal Slug 6, if it's going to do that, it should be very minimal, which it wasn't. It was pretty noticeable. And that's why I was saying with Mario was a bad example, because Mario has done that. But what I was saying with Mario was, it's like if, as opposed to slight little things like that, like, oh, Mario's the averaged out character, Luigi is Mario, but he's a little more slippery, but can jump higher. Not like that, but if it was, here's 4 Marios, but they're all just gimped in certain ways. It's nothing really to your benefit. It's just, okay, here's this Mario. We took this away from him, so he's not fun to play as. Here's this Mario. We took this away from him, so he's not very fun to play as. Just that. Stripping things off of characters that all characters should be able to do, and by doing that, it just kind of ruins the experience. That was, what was it? One of the characters, or was it 2 of the characters could, I think maybe it was just one. Was it Clark? Was Clark the one who was able to take a hit without dying? But then he sucks at almost everything else, so he's miserable to play as. Did you hear any of the new Gorillaz? It Hurts Not That Grave an album? I listened to only a couple songs. I need to hear the whole album. I liked 2 of the songs I heard. I was just kind of in the middle on the other one I heard. But I can say already in terms of its presentation and everything, it does feel like kind of a step back and just, I don't know. I really liked a lot of the stuff they did with videos in the past, and this time around they I heard that from people too. They have a lower budget for this kind of thing this time around. But it's sad just considering I really like what's his name? I'm a moron. Jamie. I like his art a lot. I really liked how the old music videos looked. So seeing that kind of stripped back, it's a little bit sad. Jimmy Healer, thank you. I always drop his name for some reason. Yeah, Jaime Heinemann. I heard it wasn't waiting 7 years for it. Well, they were gonna stop to begin with. I remember after Plastic Beach, they were gonna. I forget if it was it disagreements or something. The two of them wanted to just step back and focus on their own projects for a while. So the fact that they even came back together to collaborate and do another thing with Gorillaz was nice. It's funny, people hated Plastic Beach when it came out, I remember. And when I say that, no, obviously people did love it. But I remember a lot of people who were fans of the Gorillaz. I said the Gorillaz, it's just Gorillaz. But fans, I remember, were saying it's the worst album. Demon Days is never going to be topped. Almost all of this is garbage, but I actually liked Plastic Beach a lot. I really enjoyed Plastic Beach. And that's why it's a little bit sad. They've been wanting to do a political thing with the album, which sucks because it's about... I mean, they've always done political stuff with Gorillaz. What do you think Dirty Harry is? I really enjoyed Plastic Beach though, and anyone who says like, no, it was a really bad album, it wasn't. I thought it was a pretty good album, and yeah, exactly. Gorillaz have always been political. I guess it's because people just weren't listening. When they uploaded Hallelujah Money, and since the video description said it was a response to Donald Trump, I'm sure that's why so many people got more anal about that kind of thing. I'm sure if that was the thing at the time, that they said, oh, it's a response to George W. Bush and the war in Iraq. It's like, okay, well, I could see a lot more people just freaking out over it and saying, no, this fucking sucks. Except even then, things weren't as harsh politically, despite all of that going on, how much backlash there was to the war in Iraq and everything, and how that presidency went. It wasn't as torn as things kind of are now. People are... I guess it's just because of online culture and how this really has just become how people think. They live and breathe at this point. Everyone is one side or the other. Everyone is so fucking vicious with each other over nothing that something like that, oh no, someone's presenting an opposing point of view to something that personally I agree with. Well, this fucking sucks. Fuck them. On any side. I hate that kind of thing. Especially because I'm someone who, I'm interested in always having like discussion. That's why I'm a moron and respond to feedback all the time. I like hearing what people have to say. I like critical discussion. Even if I don't agree with someone, I take interest in what their thoughts were and what drove them to kind of think that way. And I can stop and reflect on my own thoughts and be like, you know what? that makes sense. Maybe, and start just that kind of thing. Just having actual discussion, thinking about it, processing it through your mind, and coming out of it with maybe a new perspective on things. I'm someone who enjoys that. I like actually having discussion, but yeah, that's not really a thing you can. People seem to. That was disappointing to see, was that people were misreading that tweet, because it's probably why that other tweet got so big to begin with, and it's probably mean. It probably came off like I was trying to pick on somebody, but the reason that one tweet about the art school teacher, the reason I even addressed that is because I don't like seeing people coming in trying to learn art and seeing a post like that and adopting that mentality, because that tweet I was responding to blew up hard, and it was by a person who's not even the best artist, which is why I imagine they made that tweet to begin with. They were probably very upset by the fact that they came into an art class and were just drawing something based around like a manga they read, and got frustrated that the art teacher said like, no, don't do that. And they said, what should I draw based off of them? And they said, here's I'm gonna imagine it's Robert Crumb, but it could be Ralph Bakshi, it could be, there's plenty of artists during the 70s. There's tons. I would say those two are common examples. Robert Crumb in specific, I know would be an example. But the reason those are examples are because those are people who have solid fundamentals. They understand core principles when doing art. And art is subjective, absolutely, but it helps to know those fundamentals if you're going to try to draw within exaggerated styles, because ultimately it's all being based off things that already exist in some way, shape, or form. Something that can click in someone's mind, that they can read it, that they can understand it, that they can process it in some way. So by having a firmer understanding of those things, it means you can come out of that and go back to drawing what you want to draw, but draw it a lot better. That's why you go to an art class to begin with. They want to get you exposed to that kind of thing. They want to take you out of a comfort zone because they want you to be exposed to different art styles. They want you to be exposed to just that in general. It's why you do life drawing. It's so you can pick up on things like that. And that's why that was so troublesome to me. Was and someone told me too, like, well, it's just a joke. It's not a joke post. There's no joke. There's nothing to laugh at. And if there's something to laugh at, it's at the expense of the fact that their art teacher tried to show them reference material and the person dismissed it because, oh, well, that's some icky guy who's a pervert and gross and bad. That has nothing to do with anything. Also, manga is what you're referencing here. What do you think a lot of those artists are like? Are you kidding me? Hell, that's why a lot of people in Japan are motivated on, like, for example, little indie game projects there. It's why so many of them are focused on what the subject material is to begin with. It's giving someone a boner. Keeps them motivated, gets them to finish the project. But that's what was... The thing is, people these days find the expense of others people as a joke. Well, I mean, that is a joke, but there was no... I don't see any humor in that one in specific because it doesn't read as a joke either, because at least if it's humor to be pulled from the situation, there's some comedic aspect there. There wasn't one in that tweet. It was just them being upset with somebody else and insulting them, and that was it. There's no joke, there's no wit, there's nothing there. It was just, hey, don't draw this thing because you like it. Okay, what should I draw? This thing which is bad because you don't like it. That's all it was. There was no joke. And it's why it bothered me so much. seeing it broken down like that, like, oh, don't pay attention to these artists because they're yucky and gross. Also, if your art teacher tells you not to draw manga, this class is wrong and you should drop it. I saw lots of responses like that too. Lots of people just saying for that original tweet, like, yeah, I dropped my class because that was what they said to me. There's a really good video discussing this where someone talked about how when an art teacher says don't draw anime or manga, they're saying that because they're shorthanding it. They could go deeper into it, but the idea is they're trying to tell you, if you want to do this down the road, you should pick up on some fundamentals first. We should be focusing on things right now to help you better improve as an artist, because currently you're not in a position to draw this sort of thing. You're not going to be doing a good job about it. You recognize basic symbols, you recognize like how people structure it, thanks to like how to draw anime books to, oh, draw a circle with a cross on it. You're not getting something that feels natural. You're not envisioning this. You're going through the ropes. And they're trying to push you in a direction so you can actually take in this sort of thing differently and understand it and be able to piece it together and put it to paper. That's the whole idea. It's why someone would say something like that. It's also because they're probably not too familiar with that anyways, like referring to it as, oh, you're drawing anime, or oh, you're drawing manga. That's not technically correct anyways. They could cite who specifically you were trying to imitate the art style of. The point is, though, that's why that sort of thing would be said by an art teacher, and it's why an art teacher would say that. But all that's being overlooked. It's because people want to dismiss it and say, no, teacher's wrong. I came here because I wanted to get better at drawing Goku, and they're having me draw fruit? Fuck that. I know better than the teacher as a student. That's missing the point completely. And I don't like that that's the message being sent now, is fuck people who have experience and are trying to help you. Fuck that. They're assholes. If they won't let you draw anime, then fuck them. They don't know anything. All they're saying is that Japanese people aren't good artists? No, that's not what they're saying. But that's what people ended up doing. They found an excuse to just completely dismiss people who are giving them criticism, and now they have no reason to ever learn. It's like saying to somebody, well, it's my style, as an excuse to get out of something. So, it's why that disappointed me so much to see that tweet blow up. It had like 5,000 retweets or something. It was really depressing to see that, because that's gonna hurt people coming in to do art. Like, new faces coming in wanting to become artists, that's gonna damage them, giving, like, just everyone collectively coming together and deciding to think that way. It was frustrating. It was why I ended up responding to that. It wasn't me trying to really bully or anything. It's because I would hope people don't stick to that kind of thought process in regards to art, because that's upsetting. How are you supposed to improve if you're just going to shut yourself out like that? I have to say too, whenever I have free time, I need to fucking practice drawing again, because I have not sat down and actually drawn something in the longest time. I am a terrible, terrible, terrible artist. I really want to practice again because it's been so long. And that way I can draw the fat frogmen I want. And nobody can stop me. No, it just make doing concept art for games easier. It's just hard to find free time at this point. There's so much going on. I mean, I'm scared we have to delay Trick or Treat. We probably are going to have to, because we were hoping to start work on that earlier in the year, and we ended up finally getting come back to it so late that it doesn't matter. Join Doodle Dudes and draw. No, 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 no. If I have more down, I will be doing that. I am not doing that right now. I'm not in a position for that right now. I need to refine myself more before trying that sort of thing. Motion lines. Oh, those aren't motion lines. Those are his whiskers. I went on to use Garbo. It's fine. I mean, that was his decision. I don't want to do it if I'm not in a position to be drawing at a better level. I'd rather wait for when I've been more in practice, because like I said, I have not actually sat down and drawn, like actually drawn, since probably like 5 years ago? No, 4 years ago, 3 years ago. Oni seems bummed out about his PS4. I'm glad I don't have a PS4. I bought a PS3 recently because a PS3 is... It was with money that my parents gave me for it. I wanted to get a used one so we could play PS2 games, PS3 games, and PS1 games. And I don't regret it, especially because a lot of new games are coming out on PS3 still anyway, so it doesn't matter. But, it's strange. I have no reason to get a PS4. By the way, I really like this song. Stretch Panic has some really fun music. I think this is really good first level music. We were gonna do a series for Stretch Panic, but we had recorded it so late at night and everyone was so out of it that I think we ended up just scrapping it, because it didn't turn out so well. I think I'm gonna wrap up though, because it's going on 6:30 and I am sweating. But thanks everybody for tuning in, and I'll try to stream again soon. I hope this clears some stuff up too, because I know I've been... People misinterpret a lot, and I know not that many people watch these streams, I guess. It doesn't get circulated around as much, but I don't know. I want to just make it clear to people that when I'm usually talking about this sort of stuff, I really am not angry or bothered. Like when I'm responding to feedback, it's usually because I'm just responding to feedback. It's something I do care about. I don't want things to end up being shit. That's why I'd like to listen to people. And I know a lot of people say don't read the comments or whatever, but I mean, that's how I want to go about doing this. I don't want to pretend I'm above that sort of thing. I want to hear back from people what they'd like to see, and I hope that happens with the games. I hope people really turn into them with full honesty. And like I said, I'm feeling a lot better too about things in general. So hopefully next time we go into record, I'll be in a much better mood. I'm still gonna try to steer further away from game discussion of any sort, because I know people don't want to hear it. They just want to hear jokes, and because my tone always gets misread. I think it's also just easy to pin any negativity on me, because people see me as the grumpy one. I'm going to try to ease off on a lot of that. And that's not just because of responses, that's also me personally feeling that way. So it's not really coming under pressure. I'm feeling better overall, though. Like I said, after seeing the one guy from the Bus Gamers who's been trying to create this whole mess, seeing how hard he was freaking out, just throwing a little tantrum on his own and everything, it made me feel better about things, especially after realizing how irrelevant a lot of this is. And while I still don't want to address or anything out there, I'm not as stressed out anymore. Like I said, I've done plenty to incriminate myself beyond anything that's going on there, especially when most of it isn't real anyways. So, I feel better. Hopefully that lasts. I really do have issues with anxiety I wish I didn't have. I wish it was just as easy as saying, because you piece it together in your mind, you see it logically and rationally, like, yes, I should not be upset about this does not matter. But then your heart feels like sunken in anyways, and it's pumping a million miles per hour, like it's just racing. Like, why is this making me care? Why do I care about this? I know I shouldn't. I recognize this is stupid. Please stop it. I get that kind of reaction all the time to things, and I hate it. But I think I'm past that, where the initial anxiety's there from all of this. So, Gay Frog Tuesday. Let's get it going. Hashtag Gay Frog Tuesday. Draw your fat music frogs. Who's with me? Move over, Cutie Saturday. Move over, Homer Saturday. I'll say this too. I don't like that Homer Saturday became a thing, because I get it was supposed to be like a mocking response to Cutie Saturday, but it just means I have one more hashtag now that I get going big on my timeline. People have been coming up with some fun stuff for Homer Saturday though. Oh well. Thanks everybody for tuning in. What's wrong with Cutie Saturday? It's just that I don't like really having my timeline flooded with it. Good art could come from it, and I'm glad that artists are getting exposure. It's just, personally, it means that Saturday gets to be a day that I don't get to see anything. Yeah, that'll be the hashtag. What was it? Oh, you said year though. Gay Tuba Frog year. Not a whole year. Just Tuesday.
Yeah, they'll be the new one, everybody. Yeesh. Anyways, yeah, you can block hashtags. That's what I've ended up doing at this point. I don't like flooding people's timelines, and it's why I've ended up muting some of those hashtags. I appreciate what they're doing for artists. It's just that I don't like being flooded with it. Yeah, there you go. Gay Tuber Frog Tuesday. You got it. The new hashtag. Thanks everybody for watching. I'll try to stream again soon. This is weird, kind of doing a late night stream like this, but I had fun. And even though I've met none of you people, let me just say that you're all very special, each and every one of you. And even though I don't know what you're capable of or who you are, or what you strive to be, I'm sure that you're all going to follow your dreams and eventually find the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. You're all friends, which is why when you find my address, I hope everybody shows up here and makes this miserable and I have to find a new place to live. Seriously, I don't... Anyone who thinks that YouTubers are your friends, keep in mind that they're not. They don't know you personally. It's unhealthy to think that way. Please do not think that way. And what's the hashtag again? Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Get on it. Get on it, people. Okay. Have a good one, everybody. I'll try to stream again sometime this week. So and we're actually going in to record on Wednesday and Friday this week, so it's gonna be a busy week. See you around, everybody. Shogun Gakumo even gay? Well, he is now. Bye, everybody. Have a good morning. It's gonna say night. It's like daytime now. I'm sure me saying that hashtag is gonna be a big mistake. I can only imagine the horrors I will wake up to. Okay. Good night, everybody. Or good morning. Whatever. See you later. Farewell. Where's the thing for this? I don't believe anyone's actually gonna do it. Anyways, bye! I was hoping to end the stream when the song ended, but the song is not ending yet. So this is poor timing. So see you. It's gonna end. It's gonna end. 20 seconds. Isn't that great? Oh, this is ended now. See, you want to bet I won't do it? Yeah, I bet. I'll try to stream again this week, like I said. We'll see you all probably Thursday, I guess. Farewell. Oh, there's the chirpy birds outside. That's how you know it's time to go.